In White is a mysterious character whose true nature remains ambiguous throughout much of the series. He appears to guide and help certain characters such as Victor and Ethan, but his motives and origins are unclear when he speaks to Tabitha and Sarah. Sarah even questions if he is even a little boy. While he doesn't seem overly evil, his actions and presence raise questions about whether he serves a greater purpose tied to the town's sinister forces or if he has his own agenda. The show thrives on its eerie atmosphere and intrigue, so the boy in white's true alignment, good, evil, or something in between, has been left open to interpretation. Do you think he's evil, or do you see him as a potential ally for the characters? The first time we see the boy in white is in season 1, episode 2, when he's standing outside of Ethan's window, and at that point he just stares at Ethan and waves, which still feels creepy but doesn't seem to scare Ethan. Later on, Ethan tells Victor that he has found a friend in the boy in white, and which Victor seems almost jealous. He tells Ethan, tell him Victor says hi, almost feeling like either Victor hasn't seen him in a while or Victor just doesn't want to be left out of this new friend group. Either way, we find out at this moment that Victor has been seeing the boy too. So let's talk about it. Is he evil, or is his purpose to save the people from the evil entities in the town? In season 1, episode 4, Victor said that the boy had been gone a long time and now he's back. Why did he come back? Victor said the first time he saw the boy in white is when the 2 cars came. This is the same way the Matthews family arrived in season 2. Coincidentally, Ethan and Victor are walking inside the woods in season 1, and they follow the boy in white as he leads them to the faraway tree. This is our first introduction to the faraway tree. But what was the reasoning behind leading them to the tree? Later that day, Victor starts remembering the boy in white guiding him through the massacre. It just seems suspicious that he would want Victor to remember this devastating event. Then that evening, Boyd invites the family to dinner at the diner, and Sarah gets the message to kill the boy. Strangely, all this happens once Ethan and Victor see the boy in white, especially after Victor said he hadn't seen him in a long time. Was the boy in white trying to warn them of something to come, or did he bring evil with him when he came back? It should be said that Sarah had already started killing before the boy in white came back, so maybe he did come back to protect Ethan from what was making Sarah kill. Or maybe he does have evil intentions. Maybe when he came back, that's what started Sarah's killing spree. Maybe the entity wrote on Sarah's arm to kill the boy, but it was meant for the boy in white, and she confused it with Ethan being the little boy and trying to kill him. Then there was a time that Victor said to go in the tunnels and Tabitha would be in there. Nothing positive really came from them being in the tunnels, so why did Victor go down there? Telling Victor to go in the tunnels potentially puts his life in danger, knowing that's where the monsters sleep. Was the boy in white trying to distract Tabitha from what she could have uncovered before Victor showed up? The same can be said when the boy in white tells Sarah for her and Boyd to go into the faraway tree. He said you'll be safe, although they were safe. Boyd was transported to a dungeon-like portal and was said to have brought a powerful evil entity back with him when he escaped. Now let's take a look at when Tabitha encountered him. Tabitha goes to the tower to save the kids, thinking that it would save everyone from having the seizures. But as she climbs, she finds herself at the top, and then she looks out. And then behind her, the boy in white pushes her and says, I'm sorry. What was the reason for this? It really could be anything. And also, back when Tabitha was in the real world after falling out of the tower, she sees him again and then chases him into a store, but it turns out to be the kid wearing all white. Not the kid, but a different kid. Was it a shot to get Tabitha to remember her past cycles? Or did the boy in white have evil intentions? Let's break it down. So we know that the boy in white apologizes before he pushes her. What? I'm not too sure. It could be because she was put in the hospital from the fall out of the tower, but then she eventually gets her full memories back as well. On the other side, the boy in white maybe wanted to start some more commotion in the town. When Tabitha came back, it led to Acosta killing one of the townspeople on accident, and even Julie and Ethan were greatly affected with thinking that their mom could have been dead that whole entire time. So let's speculate the boy in white now. The boy seems to be neither good or bad, but it does look like he's going on his own agenda. In the early seasons, it does look like he wanted to help, but in season 3, when Victor asks the boy for help, he tells him no and says that he's already tried that with Christopher, but he didn't listen. Was the boy in white corrupted by something in that scene, or was it the man in yellow in disguise? If you've seen my man in yellow video, we talked about a book that I think the writers took a lot of inspiration from to write the character, the man in yellow. But in the book, it says the character is called the King in Yellow, and he can have multiple faces. So I'm thinking it could be one and the same. But this time, let's talk about Julie and her story walking ability. So what even is this ability, and how does it even work? In episode 10 of season 3, we see Julie and Ethan at the diner, and Julie is explaining to Ethan what happened to her when she walked in the middle of that destroyed ruin or whatever it may be. But Ethan explains that it's in the Chronicle and that it is called a storywalker. He says that she can't change how the story ends because it has already happened. But that's really all we got on how it works. But we also do see it in action a couple of times in the episode where she first learns that she's able to do this. And we see her drop that rope down to Boyd. But initially I thought it was her using her power. But now I'm thinking that was just part of the normal history. Like, that is meant to happen, like no matter what, that she was going to always be the one to drop down that rope even if she didn't acquire her powers. And we also see her in that same episode, which I think it was actually her ability this time, but she uses it to travel to when Tabitha and Victor were in the tunnels, like exploring it, trying to find clues for the Ankui kids. We can hear them speaking in the background, and Julie is somewhere in that tunnel system as well, and she calls out for Tabitha, but she does not get a response though. Now, but what happens at the end of season 3, that can tell us a lot of how her powers actually do work. So we know that she can't go forward in time because that would be technically creating a new story if we're keeping it in Ethan's terms. So we see in episode 10 of season 3 that she is telling Jim that she's trying to change the story, and she thinks that this is where it happens after she like randomly appears in the woods as well. But she is trying to save Jim because she definitely does know that the man in yellow is coming to kill him. And we also see that she does have a new hairstyle and a few cuts on her face as well. So definitely she is from the future. But now knowing that how her power works, that she can only use it to go to the past, that means that the show has to be in the past. Like, we're watching it like events that have already happened, since Julie's ability is she's only able to go into the past and not into the future. And that would make the Julie that we see with the short hair now the present day Julie, and the one that was there before in the rest of the episode with the longer hair would be the Julie from the past. And also, is there 2 Julies walking around now? Or does the new Julie just replace the old Julie? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Now, I wanted to take a look at season 1 during episode 2. We see one of the monsters. He is a young looking male, and he asks Julie, like, don't you recognize me? And when he says that, Julie does freeze up and kind of just stares at him. A lot of people were thinking that could just be like a lore tactic, but I think it's definitely someone from probably, the beginning cycle, because he is a monster, so he would have had to been the ones to sacrifice his children or a child to the entity. If you've seen my last video, I talked about where the talismans might have came from someone that we can see in those pictures in the cave drawings. There's 2 people that we see that are standing outside of the ritual here in this picture right here. And if Julie did go back to the beginning, like the very first cycle, or whenever the children got sacrificed, what if she was the one to drop off those talismans in that cave to where Boyd could just easily find them, since she knows that Boyd does go in there and finds them. Eventually, I'm pretty sure she gets told that. And lastly, I think there could be more storywalkers in the story as well. We see in the scene when Julie discovers that she can storywalk, we see Marielle and Randall is also in the dungeon with her. But I don't think that the writers are making them the storywalkers. I think they definitely have some other types of plans for those 2. But I do think that the boy in white could be one. As we know that the boy in white, he's seen helping most of the cast, but not most of the cast, but a lot of the cast, and just trying to help them survive the city or whatnot. But when we see him pushing Tabitha out of the lighthouse, he apologizes and tells her that it's the only way. And at first, I was thinking that he did it because he injured her pretty bad. As we see in the beginning of season 2, she's hospitalized and they found her just laying in the ground. And yeah, that's what I thought that he was apologizing for, was for that. But even then, that still could have been like he did push her from a tall height, so never mind. But what I actually think he meant by that is that he was apologizing because he knew that Jim was going to die as a effect of them learning the truth about Ankui and remembering all of their past cycles and lives. But also, the man in yellow could also possibly be a storywalker as well, because we see him just kind of appears from like thin air when he tells Jim that Jade can play that tune and it sure is a good song. But he's also is wearing like clothes from the 60s, so he could be from like an earlier cycle. But I'm sure we'll get to the truth of that when season 4 comes out. We know Jim met his very unfortunate end by the hands of the man in yellow at the end of season 3. His death also came at the worst time for him. It happens right after when Tabitha tells him off and that she wants to process all of the information that she just learned about her child and things like that. A lot happened to Jade, Tabitha, and Jim before they died. They were all trying to figure out what's inside of those bottles of the tree, and also they learned that Jade and Tabitha in the past or a previous cycle had a child together that was sacrificed to the entity. And the main reason I'm making this video is because after all that, Jim really never got to resolve the main problems that he had with him and his family, and he kind of just gets killed before any of that could happen. It really all started to fall apart for him when Tabitha was gone for that little bit in season 3. Ethan and Julie kind of started to drift away from Jim because he really rarely spoke to them and was not trying to in the first place. But all of them were a little bit hurt that Tabitha was gone because they all thought that she could have been dead. So a lot was happening during that time as well. And even before they entered the town, we knew that their marriage was not really in the great spot either. Honestly, their whole family kind of was falling apart. But they said that this trip that they were going on before they got caught into the town was like a last hurrah for their marriage to see if they can pull it together. And it looks like that didn't really happen for them, and they really have no closure for it either because Jim is now dead. And I know there have been a lot of characters in this show that have died and haven't returned, but there are some that have died and came back, even if it's not really them. So how could he come back if he died at the very end of season 3? Well, my first example would be something along the lines of like the ghost that Boyd sees of Father Khatri, if we can say ghost. But after Father Khatri died, he started to show up again, but it was only in Boyd's mind. And I think Boyd just thinks that he's going crazy, or maybe he thinks that he is talking to himself. But I personally think it is something from the town messing with Boyd to try to get him to stray from the right path, because every time we see Boyd having to make a important decision for like the townspeople, Khatri is always trying to be the person on the shoulder to make him not do the right choice. Like he's always trying to get him to choose the opposite of whatever Boyd is trying to do. And I'm thinking that this maybe could happen with Jim and the Matthews family, or maybe just one of them. If it was just one of them, it probably would be Tabitha, because Julie can time travel to see him, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And if that does happen, I don't think it will be Jim. It probably will be a situation like Father Khatri, where I personally think that it's something using his face as like a disguise to get Boyd to tell him his secrets and stuff like that. It honestly could be the same exact thing or something different of the same creature. We still don't really know how many creatures are going to be in this show. We keep getting the hints from Randall and Martin about there being scarier things out there, but we really haven't seen any of it just yet. Maybe in season 4 though. But as for Julie saving him, I don't think that will happen. We will probably see her trying throughout the season in season 4 to save him, but as Ethan said, storywalkers aren't able to change a story once it's written, so she will definitely fail all the times trying to save Jim. But maybe they will give her some type of special unique ability that she can only be the one that is able to change stories. We'll have to see. But I do think eventually that she will have to accept the fact that Jim is gone and just move on. And that is going to be a little bit rough to see because, like I said, Jim didn't really get to resolve any of the issues that he was having towards the end of his run there in season 3. So I'm excited to see what they do with this character, even if it's nothing because he's dead. But And we'll probably see some scenes of Julie just like chilling with Jim because, you know, she can time travel. And so she'll probably just be hanging out with him or talking to him before that moment comes where the man in yellow comes and kills him. And that might be happening a lot throughout season 4 because she might just get to the point to where she realizes that it can't be done. But also, why was Jim targeted by the man in yellow in the first place? Because if he has this crazy power, why did he choose to spawn in front of Julie and Jim instead of Jade and Tabitha and take them out? Because they're the ones that actually have the information to break this curse or whatever it could be on the town. But I'm guessing the reason why he was targeted because the man in yellow might just be taking out the people in the town that are kind of just like excess that don't really need to be there. And the people in the town that I'm thinking are like that, including Jim, are probably like Boyd and Ellis and some other people that don't really have a direct connection to the town like we see with Abby and Tabitha and Jade and Miranda as well. So the man in yellow could be taking them out to switch up the rules of the game, like we hear the boy in white say that the rules are changing. So we don't really know what that means just yet, but it could mean anything. We'll have to see in season 4. But I definitely don't think that we have seen the last of Jim, and we may be getting some of his best moments going forward. And I know this character gets a lot of hate from the community because of how his character has been written in season 2 and 3, but Jim is one of my favorite characters. He has been doing a lot of the things that I would have tried to do to escape the town, at least, especially what he done in season 1. And I completely understand why he stopped trying to escape, because every single chance that he did, he would just get completely obliterated by the town, or someone in his family would get hurt, or even the townspeople as well. But what are your thoughts on Jim and his future, or how do you feel about his death? And I think it happened at the worst time, because it was just when his character was coming back, especially after that talk he had with Henry. But I wanted to say thank you all for watching this one, and if you don't mind to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Goodbye everyone.